James C. McCroskey is a professor in the Department of Communication Studies at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. From 1972 to 1997, he served as chair of the Department of Communication Studies at West Virginia University. Prior to joining the faculty at the University of Alabama at Birmingham in 2006, he held positions at Illinois State University, Michigan State University, Pennsylvania State University, Old Dominion University, and the University of Hawaii. He also taught high school speech and coach debate in Scotland and Watertown, South Dakota. Dr. McCroskey's research and teaching interests have varied over his career, but he is most known for his work in credibility, communication apprehension, instructional communication, and most recently, communibiology. His devotion to programmatic research and the social scientific approach to scholarship has been evident in all of his research programs. Dr. McCroskey is the most published scholar in the field of human communication to date. His first book, An Introduction to Rhetorical Communication, originally published in 1968 and now in its 9th edition, is now one of the oldest continuously published books in the field. Dr. McCroskey has received the Robert J. Kibler Memorial Award from the National Communication Association and Distinguished Service Awards from the Eastern Communication Association and the World Communication Association. He has edited Human Communication Research, Communication Education, and Communication Research Reports. Dr. McCroskey is consistently ranked as the most prolific scholar in communication studies, with well over 200 peer-reviewed articles and published more than 80 plus textbooks. Please welcome Dr. James C. McCroskey. In 1976, you started the first doctorate program in instructional communication at West Virginia University. What precipitated this decision?
Well, I was at several universities and went to West Virginia in 72, and it was they had a very traditional public speaking program, and that was really all they had. And I was hired to change the department, and there were three things that they wanted me to do. One was to modernize the curriculum. The second was to get rid of the current faculty and bring in research faculty. And the third was to have an outreach program in the state. That third one is, of course, why we eventually got a doctorate program. Why was this? Well, it was very much because of me and my background. I went through grade school and high school at a small school in South Dakota, and then I did my master's or my undergraduate degree at a small college in South Dakota. And I had very high respect for my teachers, and I decided I wanted to be a teacher. Then I realized some teachers weren't very good, and I thought it sure be nice sometime for somebody to figure out how to make these people better teachers. And, of course, I didn't do anything about that until the 1970s. I was too busy with ComApp and things like that. I decided our outreach program might very well be dealing with public school teachers. And so I checked with all the powers that to be, and they allowed me to start with 2 classes on instructional communication. There was no such course anywhere in the world, to my knowledge, at that time. There were no textbooks, nothing to work with. But one of our new faculty and one of our graduate students and I put together a program. There would be 6 all-day classes, Monday through Saturday, and we thought we had plenty of materials for the class, and we didn't. After about two and a half days, we ran out of material, and so what we decided to do was to try to get information out of the teachers, and this was very, very successful. We ask them what do you do, what should be done in a wide variety of circumstances. And this was the first class, the first two classes. One had 16 people in it, and the other one had 24. The next summer, this was all at that time being taught in the summer, we had a class, three classes that were scheduled. One of those turned out to have over 100 people, and the smallest one was about 45. And it was very clear that teachers did have a big interest in learning how to teach. And the one thing that we found most predominant was that when I asked the question, what was your first day of teaching like, the most common comment I made was, nobody ever had taught me how to teach. That set us off and decided that this was going to be our extended program. It took us a while, about 3 years, to start getting enough classes that we could teach, that we could have a master's program that was for teachers. So we did that, and over the years, we had well over 10,000 teachers work with us. Now, these were teachers from every discipline imaginable. We even had a few people that had their doctorate. But we were interested not in how to teach public speaking or communication, but to use communication in the teaching process. And one of the distinctions that's important has to do with communication instruction as opposed to instructional communication. Obviously, people that we worked with should be better communication teachers, but that was not our primary goal. Our primary goal was to help teachers in all disciplines to become more effective.
So how do you distinguish between what is commonly referred to as communication education versus instructional communication?
Well, communication education is just communication experts teaching about communication. Instructional communication is how teachers from all ways, even trainers, it doesn't have to be a teacher. There's our good ways and bad ways, essentially, to communicate in the instructional environment. And that was our focus. A lot of people were trying to teach people about how to teach communication, but almost none trying to teach students how to use communication in the instructional process.
Now, in 2006, the first edition of the Handbook of Instructional Communication came out, which you co-edited with Tim Motet and Virginia Richmond. How had the field changed from 1976 to 2006?
Oh boy, that was a big change. The first little book that we did for our first class, when we realized that we needed to have a book, and we had 12 different classes, and we were doing the same kind of thing we did at the beginning, but by that time we had 10. There were 10 books that we put together for 10 of our classes, and these we got published nationally, and other people started using them too. The Handbook of Communication was the authors were all people from the West Virginia program. And the faculty that had been there, doctoral students who had been there, and all of them had developed new materials, and that's what produced the Handbook of Instructional Communication.
Now, where do you see instructional communication taking us in the next 30 years?
Well, I hope just more of the same. There still are massive numbers of teachers who have never had any instruction in teaching. They have had education, but education doesn't include how to use communication in instruction. It's a strange division, if you will. And the fact that my minor in my doctoral program was education, and I had a undergraduate teaching degree, my master's degree. I had a minor in teaching elementary levels, and so I had a background across the whole array. And so we're still working with some of the things that we started with, but our big change might be to have more education programs learn about teaching communication as an instructional tool. It's very hard to get education people to understand that what they're teaching is not what their students need.
Why do you think there is a disconnect between schools of education and scholars of instructional communication?
Well, I think what we're doing is applied instruction. The fields, the various fields within education are content fields rather than application, very much like the communication field has been. We never, our field never really got serious about how to teach communication or to communicate public speaking. All of us got that when we were undergraduates or when we were teaching high school or sometimes grade school people, but we never put the two together either until we got into this kind of a program. One of the things that we found was a spin-off of that at West Virginia was that we kept getting awards for the outstanding teacher. And it's because all of our faculty were expert teachers, because when they first came as a faculty member, they were taught what were teaching the people that were in the education field. And also all of our doctoral students were taught how to teach. And that meant a lot of team teaching and that sort of thing, in order to make sure that we didn't have any turkeys in the group. Several of our faculty that we hired, we had that let go because they were not good teachers and they weren't willing to learn.
Now, in 2006, you also published the Introduction to Communication in the Classroom with yourself, Linda McCroskey, and Virginia Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reasoning behind publishing this lower-level intro book?
It was essentially an update to the very first book that we did. That is, we had one. It was our first one was just a stack of paper that we passed out, and then we got a little bit more developed. We got a course, a book for that course with Hurt and Tom Hurt and I can't remember the other author. I think it could have been Mike Scott. And that was the first book that ever came out on instructional communication. And so what the updated one was in 2006. It had all of the good stuff from the original book, and we got rid of the bad stuff. And then a lot of new stuff that had come out primarily as a result of West Virginia University research in instructional communication.
Where would you say, for someone who has no exposure to instructional communication, what would be the best way about going about getting information about how to improve their classroom skills, whether they're a teacher or whether they're a professional trainer?
Well, I would tell them to read the book. Start with the basic book and then go to the handbook. Just about everything we know is available in one or both of those places.
CommuniCast is a production of the Communication and Media Department at SUNY